It's interesting. It's sort of been like a theme in my life, like going back over it. It's just, often it has seemed like where I've landed at a particular time in my life has been very different from where, I was expected to land.
And by the way, looking at you now, to imagine that any of that was your experience is almost impossible, because you're so level-headed, so smart, the way you talk
Well,
about
that's only
things.
when I'm on camera, though.
Huh?
That's only when I'm on camera I'm level-headed.
No, but really, no, I see it from your book. And by the way, anybody, first a disclaimer, drugs are bad. And actually, if you want to know why they're so bad, read Cameron's book. I'm not kidding, because the way you describe your experiences, I hope would turn a lot of people away from even trying to go that path, because a lot of people romanticize, and you were saying that you romanticized.
Well, that wasn't the motivation for writing the book. Was not to sort of make a point or about drug use, using it, not using it, but yeah, I've certainly suffered some consequences as the results of my choices. And back to your earlier question about what I was, if I was trying to rebel. Or this or that. I don't think that that's what I was doing. I think, quite honestly, it was just as simple as I just went too far down the rabbit hole with the lifestyle that I was living. And my family's always put a premium on providing, for yourself, for making a living, for producing. And in the life that I was leading at that period was not conducive to making a living as an actor or as a musician. Not to say that you can't have a little bit of fun, in life, but the sort of life that I was leading, really the only way that I could figure out how to provide for myself and make a living was doing what ended up getting me tossed in prison for a decade.
Which at some point was it was a pretty successful business. Not the business that would recommend to anybody.
It was fast, and it was short-lived, certainly not sustainable, I think, almost in every circumstance. But for me, quite honestly, I'm very stubborn, and have been, and I think that's another reason why I sort of clung so hard to what I was doing until the point that I actually was sent to prison for it, is because I didn't want to. I just had my pride, and so I wrote it all the way.
But I and again, maybe you reflect on it differently now. But it almost seems to me that that whole addiction, can we call it that, 100%. Right? It was much easier to overcome the physical, because you've done it several times, and not only in prison but even before, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. You've actually fought the withdrawals and all that. So was it the psychological, or what was? Because you're very strong, and you're very sort of reflective of your life. What was that thing that just kept you there so strongly?
I think it was a lifestyle, and quite frankly, a certain level of laziness.
But you talk about where you're paranoid in a closet for days, or you get a fix, but only 3 days later you actually start feeling good.
Yeah.
It's almost like a torture instead of sort of like a lazy a lazy habit.
It's you know, it's a lot of time. I think I wouldn't say wasted, because you know, in retrospect, you know, I can draw from those experiences that I've had, even though, like we were talking earlier, you know, sometimes it seems like a different life or a different person, but it wasn't. And in fact, you know, I can go in my little memory banks and take myself right back to a number of those situations. But yeah, it was unfortunate. I mean, could have certainly been using that time more productively. But again, what I was sort of getting at was that I think anything short of what ended up happening to me, and when I say that, I mean, you know, being sentenced to prison. I don't know if it would have been enough to sort of like shake things up, to change the trajectory that I was on. And unfortunately, I still have old friends that are kind of, you know, traveling down that road, and I see, you know, where they're at physically and mentally and emotionally, and I could be right there with them, you know. So my short-term goal is to get to a place where I can look back on a lot of these experiences and truly feel grateful for having had them. And I really believe that I'm getting closer to that every day. And then that's the idea, right? You know, we, after all, any of us are the sum of our experiences. I mean, that's all we are, you know. So we try to take those experiences and allow them to make us better.